Howdy, everybody. It's another Tuesday evening. How's everybody doing?
Been doing good,
Excellent.
actually. Nice long weekend, nothing really too stressful, so it's nice to actually sit back and relax.
You had to tend to your big garden, though.
That's a huge garden Broden's got.
It's about the size of my arm span, yes, so it took me about 15 minutes.
15 minutes. Did
Something
you just
like
go
that.
like this with the seeds?
No, I grew a lot of stuff in the greenhouse, so it didn't take long. I just didn't plant them until tonight because we were expected to have heavy rain, but we didn't get heavy rain.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we finally got some last night, thank goodness.
Yeah, for sure. It was brutal for a while there. I know we were coming back from Calgary and there was hail and heavy rain. People are doing like 50 on the highway.
Wow.
It's brutal.
Did you guys see my my post I shared last night there? Middle of the rainstorm, we got a text from the neighbors, went outside and looked, and about 300 yards away there's a lake. A beaver came walking up the road, turned into my driveway, walked in front of my garage, down across my lawn and back to the lake. I don't know, he just came for a visit.
Just too wet exploring.
Yeah.
You guys got out and did a little fishing this weekend?
Yep, we got out, fished for some pike early on, and managed. Well, Mike can tell the story with his little son. His son got towed around for a bit, I saw.
Yeah.
That was great. We went out pike fishing. There was Broden, my son Ben, Taryn's father-in-law, I believe it is, future father-in-law, and then myself. Yeah, so we went out for pike, and I hooked into one to kind of set the bar for between Ben and I, and it was just under 36 inches. And then Ben hooked into a 38 and a half inch. So that's his personal best pike. So you can ask Broden. I'm sure everybody on the lake and halfway to town heard him scream.
I've also never seen a kid that small swear so much.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. He was over the moon about it, and it was great to see.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
What were you guys using for tackle?
Everything that we could throw at him.
So I've got a custom heavy rod, so I've been wanting to try that out a few times. So I took that with some bigger Savage gear baits. But honestly, I ended up having more success on the fly rod with some streamers.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a little bit more interesting in the kayak with a fly rod than a spin rod.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I tried using my first one was on a big muskie killer, and the pike destroyed that one. So I had another one in the box, and the second one is the one I gave to Ben, and that's what he caught his on. Then I tried cranks, I tried floating baits, I tried the fly rod a little bit, and I ended up. I kind of got fed up, so Broden and I were having contests to see who can make bigger splashes with our Savage gear bait. So I was throwing the 12-inch through line pike out there, and I caught a 37-inch on that. So
yeah,
nice. That's awesome.
The only issue with that is like I don't throw them a lot, but you can't throw that bait all day.
No.
Oh,
like
arms are tired.
Because was it my perch bait that I've got the oversized thing, and that's, I think on the packaging is 7. I've got the 5.5, but there's a 7 that they made for a bit. That thing's absurd. Like it's just you're not really casting it; you're more like catapulting it.
Yeah, when it hits the water, it's just like
yeah,
sounds like it just took the cat.
Yeah, it's just a giant Hail Mary to throw it out, and literally, it looks like an osprey dropped a fish from 100 feet up.
Yeah. And you went out for whiteys after Broden?
I did. As you both know, I don't really target whites too much, and I actually managed to get onto some, which was good fun. Funny enough, I went there to stop for a toilet break, and I saw a fellow kayak angler there. I'm like, oh, wonder how the whites are fishing. And I called him. He said, oh, yeah, I've caught a few. So I went down there with the kayak and like it was kind of funny. I think got everything set up, threw a balance leech under an indicator. And when I was just cleaning up some of my stuff under my feet, I just looked up and the bobble was gone. I'm like, oh. So, yeah. Pretty quick.
Nice.
Yeah.
What do you guys think's like the most important thing when getting into kayaking that you look for?
It's like depending on what you want to do, it's like you can obviously spend upwards of $5,000-$6,000 on a kayak. But if like depending on your budget and depending on your weight, because like the longer the kayak you go, the more trackability. So it's going to stay straighter, or you can go with a rudder system as well. I really like the open concept of a paddling kayak over a pedal. Like I haven't pedaled a lot. I have actually just acquired a pedal drive, but especially when I want to fly fish, I know Mike has a hack with the towel and all that to throw it on there, but eventually you just get your line caught in amongst stuff. And so what I end up doing with my Lisker is I basically take everything off the deck and sometimes if I remember, I'll put a towel down and it just makes no foot pegs get caught, no fish finder. So it's really handy for that. And you obviously want to look for something that's stable, especially if you're starting off. I would honestly pick something that's more stable than fast, because then that's going to build your confidence up. You don't want to be getting into like one of those, like basically almost like a whitewater style kayak. You don't want to be into them because you're going to be all tippy and trying to focus on trying to keep yourself out of the water. While if you went something with a more W hull, it's going to weigh a lot more, but you're also not going to fall in.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Broden said, if it's your first time and you're just getting into kayaking, definitely look at a sit on top, because number one, they're easier to get into. So you're going to have less times falling out of it into the water. So the minute that starts happening, you're just getting into kayak fishing and you go to get in or get out and you fall in the water. It just kind of ruins the experience for you. But for me, I mean, like Broden said, you can get into a kayak for $400 or you can get into it for $15,000 by the time you rig it up. So my big thing to say for people is spend money if you're paddling, spend money on a good paddle. Spend the $300-$400, get a carbon fiber paddle, because getting, just those cheap ones at Canadian Tire, like with the aluminum shaft and stuff like that, they add a lot of weight and you're not going to want to paddle all day long with that. And second, after that is get yourself a good, comfortable PFD. So with that, whatever kayak style you buy, go to a store that sells kayaks, that sells good quality PFDs. You don't want just the standard ones that everybody has in their bass boats and that kind of stuff. You want a proper PFD for kayak fishing or kayaking in general, but go to a store that sells them. Try a couple on while you're sitting in a kayak and pretending to paddle, because really with a bad paddle and a bad PFD, it's going to ruin your experience.
Yeah. And on that paddle thing as well, if you do ever use a cheap paddle and you go up to something in the $200 to $300 something range that Mike was saying, you'll also notice that you won't have your paddle flex. So when you try to put some effort into the cheaper paddles, you'll feel even in the shaft, it'll actually flex. And then you're actually losing power. If you think, it's going to spring back, but it never does. It doesn't generate power or anything. So you want to have a nice stiff paddle, because then you can really put power into it. And on that, when you're paddling more relaxed and everything, you're still transferring more power through. So it's going to make it easier on paddling again.
Yeah. What do you guys prefer, the paddle or the pedal drives?
I've already stated mine. I really like. It's not even a financial thing. I've just always really liked the paddling. I say that after I've just bought a pedal, but I'm honestly buying the pedal drive more so for Stephanie, just because when we go out, it's going to be easier for her to keep up for me, because I'm a relatively stronger paddler. So it's going to make it definitely easier for her to keep up, and then she's going to enjoy it. Especially last year when we were out in Cold Lake. In the morning, it was a little rougher, and I know, and It's just having the pedal drive. I can have more confidence in her to like be able to like look after herself and not stay too stuck to shore. Because you're using a bigger muscle. That's the main thing. You're using a much bigger muscle in your legs.
Yeah, and for me, it honestly depends on the body of water I'm fishing. If I'm going to be floating on the bow or something like that, paddle it. Obviously, I don't have to worry about my pedal drive hitting on anything. I don't have anything in the way. I'm fly fishing. So any of the water bodies where I'm fly fishing predominantly, I'll paddle. If I'm going to be putting on a lot of miles, the pedal drive's nice because you can go hands free. And like Broden said, the weather picks up out on cold, on Lesser Slave. You've got that power to come in instead of fighting with the wind and everything. You're going to go a lot more efficient pedaling than paddling. But again, it's one of those personal preference things. There's times that I curse the pedal drive because you're just about a perfect fly cast and you look down and it's tangled up around the pedal and it stops dead. And so, it's like I said, they both have their advantages and disadvantages, but really it's a personal preference. And a lot of it comes down to the water bodies.
Yeah. What's a must-have thing that you guys love on your kayaks?
Honestly, I think Mike would also agree on this thing because we both compete in the tournaments, is a phone lanyard. That thing is when I got mine, it was like $20 and it was a 2-pack. I think they're $30 for 2-pack now, but they're a little bungee cord. You just clip onto your PFD and there's a little black pad thing. It's got a little tag end just there. And I've got it stuck to my actual phone holder in there. And then especially it's the same thing with ice fishing. I use it during ice fishing too, because it's like I've seen so many friends lose their phone down the hole. It's just like you have full confidence in this thing not leaving it. So then anything happens, you can call for help or you keep your photos. And obviously it saves you going to the phone shop the next day trying to get a new phone.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the big things is lanyards, rods, tools, phones. We have heaven forbid something happens and you flip. At least if everything's lashed off, you might lose the rod that's in your hand if you freak out and let it go. But otherwise, if everything's hooked in, you flip the kayak over. And I mean, we've seen it so many times with friends that have been out and stuff. They literally flip their kayak back over. Everything's on leashes. They bring it all back up and just continue fishing. They haven't lost anything. So
yeah, we got a fellow competitor in the name of Jim Kind. Quite literally everything on his kayak is leashed to that kayak. There is nothing free. So
except for him.
Yeah, except for him and the rod that he's using. So if people like to say that Hobies are super stable, like I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago, he was in a Pro Angular 14. So one of
12.
Yeah. And that's still recognized as one of Hobie's best kayaks, and he managed to get flipped in that thing.
And less than 20 minutes later, Jim McManus in a Hobie PA12 as well turtled his kayak. So it happens to the ones that even people claim are the most stable. It absolutely can happen. So you just got to be aware. And with that, another thing that I'll say for my kayaks, on the backs of my seat, I have straps. So I work in the oil and gas sector, so I've been around enough that we've got suspension trauma straps for fall arrest harnesses. Yeah. I have one of those tied to each of the seats that if you fall out of your boat, forget even just your kayak flipping, but if you go out of your boat, I can reach over, undo this thing. It gives me a something to stand on, and I can stand on that to help myself get back into the boat. Because it doesn't matter if you got a life jacket on, if it's colder weather, that saps your strength instantly, as well as all your clothing. Just makes it harder to get back in the boat.
For sure. Do you guys have different kind of rod holders? Like, do you bring like 4 or 5 different rods, or do you just bring a couple?
At least.
It's a story with like what kayak to bring as well. It depends on the waters and what species you're targeting. Like, honestly, if I'm going for trout these days, I'm taking 2 fly rods and an ultralight. Walleye, I'm taking 3. If I'm going for walleye and pike, it's generally 4 because there's obviously the 4th heavy rod. And even like Cold Lake, I'll only take 3. And that's honestly just because of pure laziness, and I don't want to swap out gear as often.
Yeah. And same here. If I'm going out, even if I'm just targeting pike, I'll have 3 to 4 rods with me, just to all set up in different presentations, because like Broden said, I don't want to go, okay, well, this isn't working, stop and tie something new on. I put that rod down, grab another rod that's set up for a different presentation and go with it.
But then,
I mean, rod holders, I mean, we've got, there's so many different styles of crates for your kayaks. There's so many companies that are making them now. Guys are making their owns that we've got that. And then, a lot of the companies now have a rod holder that you can use with spin, with bait cast or fly rods. So there's usually 2 or 3 of those on the boat as well.
Yeah, and then if you look down in the south of the border, you see a lot of those kayak bass guys. And I'm friends with a few of them, and they carry upwards of 12 on a kayak, which is absurd to me. But they like to
12 rods.
So with my black pack, it's 16 by 16, and I saw someone post up, you can physically fit, someone put 11 or 12 rods on the pack behind them, but others like to run 9. And then a lot of the newer kayaks nowadays have rod stages along the side, and they run a few down there as well.
Oh, yeah. Huh. When you say you're mounting your sonar, how do you mount your sonar? Is there a different bracket, or do you put it behind you or in front? Or
it depends on the kayak you're on, because some kayaks do come with, a lot of the premium kayaks come with track. I find if you're in a pedal drive, you want to be putting the fish finder closest to you, while paddling, you don't want that fish finder on the side. You want it in the middle, away from your paddling stroke. And so I'm lucky with my Liska that it actually runs it's got a scupper mount in the front underneath a latch. So I lift up that, and I have a good friend who's pretty good at 3D printing, and he made me a nice transducer for my side scan that drops down, and I can side scan, no troubles, no nothing like that. And I know certain other ones you do have a little bit of trouble, and you have to get I know Scotty makes a sidearm thing as well as Yak Attack, and it fits on the rail along the side, and it's this flip arm that drops down, and then your transducer runs along the side of you.
And like Broden said, a lot of the companies now have got somewhere on the boat that they've got through one of the scuppers, they've got a mounting spot in one of those scuppers, and that's allowing you to mount your transducer. So like on mine, it's behind my seat. So in my tank well, I could actually run dual transducers back there if I want. And then I drilled holes in spots on the back of my kayak with through hull grommet kits, wiring kit. So my transducer wire runs in through the body of my kayak, pops up the front, and then comes down. So I've got a 9-inch Garmin ultra high def that's just right at hand's reach. So when I'm sitting there, I can reach down and access it. So, but yeah, like Broden said, I've seen guys that have set it up and they're like, oh, this is exactly where I want it. And the first time they go out paddling after drilling holes, they realize that their sonar is right where they're going to hit with a paddle stroke. So the biggest thing that I will, I'll say and recommend to anybody is, before you're going to ever mount something on your kayak, get some good quality double-sided tape, sit your kayak on your lawn, put everything, if you're going to have to drill holes, kind of get it secured somewhere there and practice your paddling and, just stuff like that. See what your range of movement is, because it'll make a huge difference.
Yeah. And can you fit your live scope in there?
I can, but the problem for me is it obviously takes a while to set up. And second of all, if I want to use it the way I would really like to run it, it's like obviously full time. I'd have to have a pole out the side, and the issue with that, especially in a kayak, that's going to keep causing drag, and so I'm going to have to double up on paddles on one side. Mike and I have already talked about a solution to that, and that is because I'm going to possibly order a rudder kit for my Lisker and then mount the transducer on the back and then operate the rudder control, so then I can change the transducer to perspective and all that, or like to forward view and down view. Yeah. And then it's at the back. And so then if I run it at forward view, it'll actually be seeing exactly what's underneath my kayak. And then
I did that.
Turn it.
Yeah, I did that years ago when we went out to Mucha Bay for the Salmon Derby. It was before Live Scope, just with the regular Panoptix kit. So I had it mounted on the rudder, and it was absolutely great because you're going out there, and as you're coming along, you're like, oh yeah, there's fish. And as you come over them, you just lift your rudder up a little bit. So all of a sudden you're changing. And the nice thing is you can get it into a 45 instead of straight up or straight forward. You're kind of going to 45, giving you a little bit more view. And especially since it's behind you, it worked absolutely great.
Yeah.
Nice.
With people with pedal drives, it's a little bit easier because then you can obviously just have your rudder turned a little bit so it counteracts that drag. Taryn, who we were out fishing with pike, he's got one and he's planning on doing the same thing with a little pole out the side. And I know a couple other anglers have got some live scopes this year, and so they'll be doing the same thing with a pole.
Huh. The 1 year when I was running the live scope, I had it on my Wilderness Systems Attack, and I've got a motor for it. So I'm like, well, I'll do this the easy way. So I actually took the pole and I threaded the pole through one of the scupper mounts right in front of my legs. So it was right in front of me. So as I was cruising along with the motor, I could just turn it. It worked awesome. Just you can't go into super shallow water, but it worked fun.
Nice. Okay. How do you keep your bunk board under control on your kayak?
Well, I've got one of the larger bump boards I've got a musky bumper. I don't have the Magnum size. I just got the regular 60-inch size. I put that in behind my seat, and it just fits between my black pack and my seat. It fits nice and well. When I want to use it, I'll bring it out. And as people, like a lot of people in the boats don't really experience this, but with a kayak, with a sit-in, you've got that sort of, you've got your side gunnels, and then you've got it drops down, and the musky bumper sits over that whole thing. And the problem with that is it hinges down.
Oh yeah.
And so you don't get a true reading. So what I ended up doing is, well, initially I started putting tackle boxes underneath there to jack it up so it's flat. But what I've got now is a piece of PVC pipe that's about this long, and I've cut a slit in it. That's the same thing. This is the musky bumper, and I'll just jam that in there, and it'll make it solid. So then I can measure big pike and such. But most of the time, that's the only time I need to expand it is when I'm dealing with pike. And the great thing about the musky bumper I find is I'm one of the few that don't tether anything. I just hate tethers. It's just, I tried them once and I'm just like, nah, I just want everything free. If I fall over, it's fine. But the musky bumper, as a lot of people know, it floats. So I'm not worried about that thing at all.
Yeah. And I'm running one of the ones that we had donated from Ruby's Outdoors. So it's huge aluminum. You've seen them. So they're a nice big aluminum. So like Broden said too, there you go. The nice thing is it spans right across. So I just throw a leash on the end of it, and
this thing's like 50-inch, I think. Yeah, 50-inch.
Yeah, so it's with 50 inches, it's good, but you get to the point where you realize that it's a bit of a hassle when you've got one of those giant fish on there, because you're like, oh crap, what's going to happen? And I experienced that again this year when I was measuring Ben's fish for him, because it did not want to cooperate. And I don't know, maybe we need a measuring board with grip taper on it so it's not so smooth and the fish just slides all over the place.
Yeah,
I just use my feet.
Yes, Broden has a foot technique for holding the fish down.
So, like, if anyone who does happen to catch big pike, I grab them under the gill plate, and
with your toe.
As I'm taking a photo,
with your toe.
He's a hobbit. He's like a hobbit. He just puts his feet on top.
Yeah. As I'm taking a photo, I get my foot and I basically stick it up to where the tail of the pike is, and I straighten it out with my foot and hold the front of the pikes and take it. You have to I should.
You put the head right beside the business, or what?
What's that?
You're holding that head like right in your lap, and
no, it's like I've got I generally put the musky bumper in front of me, and so then I've like got it laying on the kayak, and then so obviously I put the face up to the end of the bump, and then I just use the foot to straighten it out so I get the exact measurement. It's basically, if you look at me, it's almost like a starfish kind of thing. It's just like, and you just keep tapping the photo, and then you look at them real quick and you say, yeah, that's good enough, and you just put it back in your pocket, and then you release the fish.
Okay.
Or you're out in the water listening to Broden yell at his GoPro, stop recording, GoPro, record.
No, that was only once. I didn't even bring the GoPro out last time. No. The funniest thing I find, especially on tournaments, because there's obviously a lot more kayak anglers with GoPros, it seems to happen that someone else has better capabilities of operating someone's GoPro from 40 feet away than the actual operator themselves. So you'll just start hearing GoPro turn on, and all of a sudden your GoPro just turns on, and it's just like, what are you doing? And you just, yeah. And there's at least, I think, 12 or more kayak anglers with the same thing. And I know when I was fishing with Wee last, he was honestly like over 100 feet away, and he was trying to yell at his GoPro, and he ended up turning mine on to record. I'm like, what's going on?
With the new tournament season coming up, what do you guys, I know next week or this weekend coming up is Open Creek. What else do you guys got scheduled?
So the day after, we have Mike has organized a sucker derby at the same event, at the same area. So a little Sunday quick fish. And then I think 2 weeks after, is it, that we've got Buffalo? Or is it 3?
Yeah, June 10th, we're at Buffalo Lake.
Yeah.
June 17th, we're going down to Carrollside Reservoir down in southern Alberta. 24th, we've got concurrent derbies for people who like driving. So we're doing Vaso Lake in southern BC for bass, and Wellman Lake in Manitoba for bass. July long, the first is Ruby's Outdoors, so Ruby's Gator Classic. And then Madness on Mosier, so Creighton, Saskatchewan. And then we have 1 week off.
And then we have
2 weeks. 2 weeks off.
And then we have Denise's.
We have 2 weeks off. Then we have Carl's out on Lesser Slave Lake. Then Lake Diefenbaker for the Saskatchewan Classic. Then August long weekends, the East Slope Classic out at Glenifer Lake. And then we go to Cold Lake for the, 19th?
The 19th of August.
Yeah, 19th of August. We're back at Cold Lake to end the in-person derbies off. So 12 different derbies this year.
If you ever want to piss off a guy in an $80,000 boat, go to Cold Lake and catch a laker in front of them as they're wasting gas trawling around.
Yeah, it's good times.
Yeah.
So how would someone get involved in participating in this tournament? In one of them?
Obviously, you can reach out to one of us, or you can reach directly to the Western Canada Kayak Fishing Trail. It's one of us will answer you. Most likely Mike. Mike is our president, or El Presidente as I call him. And we're up to 13 events this year, 12 in person and 1 summer long tournament. So if you want to reach out to us and compete, like we're not professional people when you look at it. We like to say,
whoa, no. We're professional. We're not like high end tournament anglers, but we're professional. I mean, we're not like a bunch of idiots out there.
No.
Most of the time. Most of the time.
Yeah. So if, like, for instance, if you're having trouble with a fish, someone's going to go over there and help you. It's not like it's not a dog eat dog world on the tournament days. Everyone's there to have fun. Like, don't get me wrong, people are taking it serious, but we're also there looking out for each other and stuff. We don't want anyone like having a bad day.
Absolutely. I mean, our whole tournament trail, when I started it years ago, it was just because everybody enjoyed the East Slope Classic so much. Everybody's like, we should do more derbies. So I branched out, and first year we had 5 derbies, and then it's just gone on and on from there. So it's great. Like Broden said, you can reach out to us on Instagram, on Facebook. So you can message us on either of those platforms. You can check it out. We do all of our captain meetings are live and everything as well. So
yeah,
and yeah, I mean that's what it's about. Like Broden said, it's one of the few tournament series where you're actually going out and you're encouraged to reel your line in and help a fellow angler. You know, if you see somebody bringing in a big fish, chances are there's going to be 5 guys that are going to reel their lines in. They're going to come over to give you a hand to net the hook or net the fish, get the hook out, get a good picture of it, get it back in the net, make sure that fish survives. So it's, as much as we are competitive, we're a very tight knit community that's really out there to promote sustainable fishing and kayak fishing.
Yeah, and with our tournaments, you don't actually have to be in a kayak, as long as it's a man-powered vessel. So if you want to come out in your pontoon or your float tube, you're more than welcome to come out and have some fun.
Well, Mitch is paddling his Legend around this weekend.
No, if everything goes to plan, he might be pedaling a kayak this weekend.
I might be pedaling.
Yeah, might be pedaling.
I think it's going to be chaos, but we'll see. I'll be that guy in the corner just doing circles.
Don't tell him how to run the rudder, and we'll just put it all the way to the side. He'll just be burning donuts in the middle of the lake.
I'll get the cable and I'll flip it. So it's like
then no one will be there to help.
Yeah.
So when I catch a fish, I'll just yell at Broden to come take it off for me and measure it and everything.
That's fine, as long as the fish is taken in your vessel, then yes, we can do that. And yes,
is it the same as like my catch? So the fish has to be facing a certain way on the bump.
So it's belly to belly to the left. That's the easiest way to do it. So
it's the same as my catch.
Yeah.
Well, and realistically, I mean, like if you look at the bump board there in the background, your bump boards all read from left to right. So in order to be able to see it, that's the way you've got to do it. With the tournaments this weekend, though, we won't be running them through the app. It's just take pictures on your phone, bring them in, just because there's no cell service out there. So it's a hindrance, but it's also a blessing when you're out in the water and you're not getting 5,000 Facebook dings and everybody calling you and sending you messages. It's peaceful.
Yeah, for sure. It's a beautiful place.
Absolutely.
Jay was wondering, have you tried that 12-foot rod in your kayak yet, Broden?
I have. It actually works really well. Sad note.
It's no longer 12 foot.
It's now like 11 foot something one piece, as both ends decided got some gear moved when we were going fishing, and someone closed the door on the two ends and unfortunately broke it. I managed to redneck fix it.
On the two ends? They got not just one, but two?
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to slam it, if you're riding around in a Ford Escape, there's only about 11 feet of room, no matter how you skin that cat in that thing. So
So I ended up getting some thread from my fly tying bench, and funny enough, I was able to fit the two pieces together, and I just got some black wrap and I just wrapped the hell out of it, and then I zapper gapped it and stuff, and then set it, and now it's a 11-foot 8 or something one piece rod.
So do you just like tie it to your head? Then leave the line out, then just reel it in onto your hitch so it just holds.
It's just an antenna waving in the wind.
No, I just fit it down in my kayak. Because my kayak's over 12 foot, so it fits straight down in the middle, and then it's fine. And then it bends nice and easy. And what I just end up doing is I obviously can't bring it in here because I'm in this roof space is 6 foot, so I can't really show you. But the handle's like honestly this long. So I can work my hands upwards, and then when I bring it up, because it's got such a big bend in it, I can net fish easy enough. It's great for slip bobbering.
You might have some help to fix it up better for you.
Oh no, it's permanently stuck the way it is. There's no help.
Never coming apart.
It's never coming apart. There was a lot of glue put in that thing.
How's the flex now?
It actually.
Do you have a dead spot in it or what?
No, it's I got a photo of this because I tested it after and I bent the hell out of that thing. I'll have to see if it'll actually let me show. Where are we? It was a little while ago.
The real sad thing is the old school I know Kevlar ones that didn't bend.
Yeah.
The annoying thing is I bought it and I was like thinking, oh, this is going to be great. And I didn't even get a chance to use it and it got broken. But if anyone can sort of see, that's the cat, but it's bending.
You're whipping a cat.
I'm not whipping the cat. I'm just.
I see it.
No, but you can sort of see it. It's still got plenty of good flex in it. It is a medium light fiberglass composite style thing.
Wow.
So
a medium light 12-footer.
Yeah, it's great.
That thing's huge.
Oh, it's great.
Good for cat fishing.
Yeah, and like it's hilarious because I caught a few walleye on it now, and as soon as you set the hook, and it's like a 18-inch
Do they
walleye,
just fly into the boat?
It's already bent halfway over. But it's just nice because that 12-foot, it just takes up that line so much quicker when you want to set that hook. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're in 10 feet of water, it just shoots the fish out of the water.
Yeah.
Looney Tunes style.
No, but honestly, I didn't necessarily buy it for my kayak. I bought a 10-foot version of that for the kayak. I bought the 12-foot for rivers. So when I'm on the NSR, I had better line control for slip bothering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
But now because it's a one piece, it's a little bit hard to travel unless I got the kayak with me.
Just have it out the window.
Yeah, it's fine.
As long as you're off on the passenger side, it's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Just smacking bikers in the back of the head as he goes by.
I was kind of thinking to strap it to the side rails of the car and just drive.
Yeah, it worked. It'd be fine.
Yeah.
Is there a preference you guys like for a length of rod in your kayaks? Or do you get a longer net?
No, I like 7 foot. It has to be, for me, it has to be 7 foot. I can get away with 6'6", but if you want to sit down in a kayak and when you're, say, for instance, with pike, and they want to go to the other side of the kayak, you want that extra rod length to get around the nose of your kayak, because it's not like you're going to, like a boat, you can just walk around the boat. So you want that, but some people don't understand is, they measure the rod. Like a 6 foot is fine. It can get around the edge of the boat. I said, yeah, it can when it's straight, but when you've got a fish on, you basically lose a foot. So you want that extra, you want that 7. For me, you want that 7 foot. I've honestly gone a little bit longer these days. I've got a couple of 7'6" and some 7'8" this year. And I really like them. And I don't have any trouble with getting them netted. I've got like a Yak Attack net that it's not a crazily long net, but by the time you have that rod and you just sort of bring it back past your shoulder and net, you've got like 6 foot of reach. So you've easily covered that.
Yeah, and I find the same too. I run anywhere from, like, I've got ultralight rods that are 5'6" that are great little rods that I'll use. But on average, I actually find kind of the opposite of Broden. I usually go for that 6.5, 6 to 6.5 I like. But with my kayak, it's super stable and my seat slides really easy back and forth. So if I hook into something big, I'll slide my seat up even more. So then with a 6 foot rod, I can just reach out and go around, and then it just allows me to get it closer to the boat, and just storage too.
Yeah,
is the big thing. Unlike Broden, I usually have somebody in my passenger seat that if I had rods there, they wouldn't be happy. You watch Broden pull up his poor Stephanie's there crammed up against the door with 32 rods bent into the back of the vehicle.
Yeah. So there's another difference as well. I really like one-piece rods. I just think you just get a whole lot better responsiveness, and some odd reason I break 2-piece rods, hence like that 12-foot rod got broken. I don't know why, especially at the joins, I seem to break them. I don't know, but one pieces, you just got more response, you just got a more uniform backbone. And it's not like I carry 32 rods. I may own more than that, but generally speaking, I just jam them beside the passenger seat, and I think I've had an 8.5 foot rod in my Escape, one piece, fully ready to go. You can run 3 or 4 rods easy enough and still have plenty of room for the passenger. Huh. Because trust me, if there wasn't enough room, I'd hear about it.
He probably did.
Yeah, that's why he no longer takes 32 rods.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, and that's the big thing too, right? Is for anybody that's looking to get themselves set up, get your kayak, get yourself fitted up with your kayak, and then go with a rod that you're comfortable with. And you know, there's companies out there that make kayak specific rods, so they've got extra flotation on them, they've got longer reach, they've got different things. So it's really a personal preference. I still take out. I've got an old Shakespeare ugly stick. It's a 9'6" with the great big long fighting butt on it, with level wind reel. I love that thing. I've had that for 8 years, and it still goes everywhere with me when I'm pike fishing. Just because sometimes I want that extra reach for chucking big stuff.
Yeah. And one other thing with rods, if you're a little bit paranoid about losing your rod over the side and you don't want to run leashes, just go to the hardware store and get that pipe insulation foam and cut like this much, and just get a couple of cable ties and tie it in against near the butt, and that thing won't sink.
Oh yeah.
I don't do it. I just have standard rods, nothing special.
Your rods don't even make it to the lake, so
yeah.
It doesn't matter.
The goal this weekend is going to be to turtle Broden and then go back and fish up all his gear.
Yeah,
you can try that. I don't have it because I lost it on that old card, but if you do buy a premium kayak, you can get pretty far on edge on those things before they flip.
Huh.
So yeah, good luck with that.
Well, perfect example. Did you see Ben on Sunday when we were out?
Yeah,
we were all sitting there, and all of a sudden you look over, and he's standing up in the very back of the kayak, standing over on the side of it. Like, holy crap!
He's also 70 pounds.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, but no, yeah,
it'd be nice to have that kind of balance and center of gravity again.
Yeah,
yeah, that's for sure.
With all the stuff you carry, do you guys have do you bring dry bags, or how do you store all that stuff with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, it depends. Like Broden's kayak is different than mine. I've got full access into my hatch, so I've got a big bin up in the front and everything. But regardless, anything like that, my rain gear's in a dry bag, my batteries go in a dry bag. Everything that I put inside my kayak, even though it's sealed, everything goes in a dry bag, just because you never know what's going to happen. So dry bag it all, and then try to not, and I'm sure Broden's made this mistake too. After a while, you end up leaving everything out and you don't put stuff away. And the next thing you know, you can't move around on your kayak because there's boxes of tackle and loose tackle and everything. So you got to spend 20 minutes putting stuff away.
This sounds like Broden.
No, funny enough, because I run my seat in the high position, I don't have the issue with the floor space, because if I have any tackle boxes that I don't feel like putting in the back of my thing, I just tuck it under the seat.
Yeah.
So yes, if you happen to see me when I get off the water and I take my seat out, you might see 2 or 3 tackle boxes underneath my seat with a bunch of random lures.
Only 2 or 3.
Yeah, because then you've got the other 8 in the back.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I knew there was somewhere.
No, but
on my kayak, I don't know if you saw him, Broden. I went to the dollar store, and there's like a drawer organizer, a big thick plastic drawer organizer, and I throw that under my seat. So anytime I take a lure off, I just slide that out and throw the lures in there, let them dry in there rather than throwing them back in my box. So it allows me to keep extra little things like that. So
I unfortunately buddy ran over it, but I used to have the old, I think it was the Flambeau or Plano, had the tackle box that had all the holes in it. And what I used to do is I used to throw the lures that I used in that one, and I kept that underneath it. And so on the car ride home, they'll dry out all fine. And then once I'm at home, you just take them out and put them into the original tackle boxes. But with my kayak, I've got a front hatch too. So generally speaking, my battery for my fish finder goes in there, and my rain jacket. I I don't really care too much about the rain pants per se, because I'm generally wearing bathers or something. And if I'm getting wet, I'm getting wet. I'm not, as long as my upper body's fine, I'm normally fine. And then most of my tackle boxes go in the back of my my crate in the back. And the great thing about that is I've got they brought out a bungee cord dividers. So instead of the traditional thing of having a crate and you take one tackle box out, they all fall over. They've got dividers in between them, so you can pull them out and the rest of them all stay all nice and straight. So everything stays neat. Instead of halfway through the day when you're like standing on your kayak reverse trying to get all the tackle boxes upright, you're wondering where the hell this is and all that.
Have you guys used catch coil lanyards?
I've seen them, and I do think they're actually a really nice product. But again, I hate anything attached to my rods. It's like I've got lanyards on my pliers, and I don't like they came with the plier. I don't even use them. I just chuck them underneath my seat. I don't like, knock on wood, I haven't lost anything. The most expensive thing I've lost overboard so far is a TC Moto jig.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've got lanyards that I use. Wilderness Systems has some that they're nice. They actually come with a little Velcro strap that you can wrap right around your rod, so you can quick click it on and off. So when my rods go into my crate, I just click that on. Then if I flip, they're still attached. Quick off, it's just this tiny little thing. And then for a lot of the other stuff, I've got some of the Scotty coil ones are really good too. I like those because they got a nice big clip on them.
Yeah.
So especially for like the kids, you can literally take the Scotty one, and with that big clip that's on it, actually I have a clip right here. It's got a decent sized clip on it. Yeah. So I can take these and put it right around the reel. So then their rods, even as they're reeling, if something comes up and rips the rod out of their hand, especially for kids, they're great, because then if something pulls the rod out of their hand, you still got your rod.
Yeah. And one other thing, like you obviously not going to be tying up all your tackle boxes, but spend the extra money and get those waterproof, fully sealed. I know Flambeau and Plano both make them, and I've had a Buzz Bomb tackle box loaded up and that thing still floats, and Buzz Bomb's basically lead.
Yeah.
So those things are, especially if you do happen to turtle, all your tackle's safe then.
Yeah. Yeah. If it's a bunch of heavy tackle, definitely put in those waterproof ones.
Nice. What would you say, like, when someone's starting out, is there an easier way to get into a kayak for your first time, or do you just hop in there and go?
Best thing obviously is just take it slow. I find it easier to do it where there's like a sandy bottom where you walk out a little bit. You don't want to be trying to jump into the kayak, because as soon as you jump into the kayak, even if you're in a really nice kayak for your first time, you're going to try to overcorrect yourself, and then you'll be fighting and you'll end up falling on your bum. It's just easier to sort of push the kayak out into like a foot of water and just basically sit yourself down on the side of the seat and just twist around on top of it, and you're fine. That's honestly the best way. I see a lot of the if you're in a sit on top. If you're in a sit in, it's kind of a little bit difficult. It's a little bit tippy. You might want to start a little bit on land. I like to see. I've got a few people I know. Dana, I think I got him to start with part of his kayak on land and most of it in the water, so he can sort of physically, his hips are in line with the kayak, and he just sort of jumps in there, and the land sort of keeps it more stable, and then he just pushes off.
Yeah, like Broden said, for a sit on top, side saddle, sit your legs in, swing in. You've got your paddle, that's great for stability, and then for your sit-ins, just little things like you take your paddle, put your paddle behind the seat, kind of long side up the side that you're climbing in, put it in there, and then kind of sit up behind the seat and kind of scoot your butt and slide down into it. And if you're leaning the side that the paddle is, you've got that paddle to brace you from rolling over.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And also, I know Jackson comes with a stand assist strap, and I know some people you get like a piece of strap, and you can tie it to anything on the kayak, and it can help you, especially on if you do turtle. that's really handy for helping you flip the kayak as well as getting you up, because like I know Mike carries an NRS strap with him all the time.
Yeah.
And it's just super handy to have.
Yeah.
If the weather's bad, like you get some bad waves, are you cutting those waves like you do in a boat, or do you take them more head on, or what's your plan of attack in that situation?
Depending,
just roll with it and just bob like a bobber.
Yeah, if
let the walleye chop catch you the walleye.
Yeah, if I'm fishing, I'm not like, I don't really care at all. To me, it honestly adds more action. That's the way I think of it. And I've been out in Pigeon and I've seen boats get bounced around and stuff as they're stationary. And I just think because we're so much smaller profile, we're more so rolling with them instead of like the boats are going up a little bit and then hitting the next wave and just chopping and then just constant like banging while I'm just rolling and I'm just like. And if I'm moving, depending on like where I'm going, sometimes I will sort of ride with the wave and sort of slowly go over them like that. And other times I'll just face them head on. There's I have fallen asleep in the middle of Cold Lake when there was like a couple of feet swell just randomly because I was tired. Yeah, I'm a bit of an odd case though. I grew up on the coast, so I'm like inland waves don't really scare me.
Yeah, and that's just it. I mean, I've been out in my kayak. You know, we've been out on Wabam, and when it's got all of a sudden the wind came up, it's super windy, and it's almost 2 foot out there down at the west end, and you get to a point after you realize the stability of your boat and you get comfortable with it. We were standing in the waves and pike fishing. It was great. I've been off the south coast of Vancouver Island and probably 4.5, 5 foot, right at the breakwater. All the seals were up at the rocks looking at us, wondering what the hell we were doing in the water, bobbing around. But yeah, like that's like Broden said. Once you get comfortable with the stability of your boat, you'll notice that waves don't bother you at all, and you start using them to your advantage.
Yeah. Huh. Is there anything else you guys want to bring up?
No, not that I can think of.
Yeah, like we had talked about earlier, this weekend is our first 2 events. So it's of the Western Canada Kayak Fishing Trail. The first is the Memorial Trout on the Fly. I created that. My dad passed away in 2017, and he had started coming out and fishing with us at the East Slope Derby, and he got along with everybody. So that's a charity derby. So all the money that comes in from entry fees goes back into different donations. So with that, with the Western Canada Kayak Fishing Trail, we sponsor Rimby Fishing Game every year with a bunch of money to buy prizes for their kids fishing derby. We sponsor Lacombe Fishing Game, involved in the pond maintenance and everything there. So some of our dollars go towards like the brand new all access dock that they just put in there and stuff. So we've got that. So that's our first one on Saturday, and then Sunday is a sucker derby, which is looking like it's going to have the potential of a $1,000 pot. So it could be a fun day fishing suckers.
Yeah.
It's a good pot.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, for a half day of sucker fishing, that's a great pot.
Yeah. Then it's all bear bait after that.
No, it's all catch and release. So that's the big thing. All of our derbies are catch and release.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I know if you're looking to rent a kayak, Hooked Up Fishing Gear, they're renting kayaks. They got pedal drives, everything, kids kayaks. So check them out too.
It's great to see that, because I know a lot of people want to try kayak fishing, but there hasn't been like a good rental company. And it's great to see what Jay and Danielle have actually done with that, because no one wants to be spending big money on a kayak and realize they don't want to do it. It's great that you can go out, spend a little bit of money, go out with your kids and all that, see if you really enjoy it. Yeah. And you'll definitely notice a difference if you go from a Pelican to one of their rentals. Their rental fleet is some really nice kayaks and very stable.
Yeah. And with that, wherever you live, contact your local dealers and go ask them. A lot of times those local dealers will do demo days as well. Go try it. But yeah, having the fact that you can rent great kayaks like Hooked Up has done, I mean, that's that's huge for central Alberta here. That's a great opportunity. You've got some amazing lakes right around the area to get out, do, just recreation or some amazing trout fishing, amazing walleye and pike fishing. So you've got the opportunity to go to Hooked Up and get yourself hooked up. See what I did there, bro?
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
The old dad jokes.
Yeah. Oh, that's what happens when you're an old dad.
Yeah.
You'll know soon enough, Broden.
Yeah.
Where can they find you, Broden?
You can reach me on Facebook at this like Broden Smith, or you can reach me on Instagram at Frodo Goes on an Adventure. And or if you want to talk about the trail, you can obviously reach through the trail and talk and request me, and I'll get talking to you.
Mike?
Yeah. So my just regular Mike Zilkowski on Facebook, or Mike Zilkowski Outdoor Adventures on Facebook, and Mike Z Outdoors on Instagram and YouTube. And yeah, I mean, get hold of us. Like Broden said, when you send an email or a text message or a message to the West Can Kayak Fishing Trail, it goes to all 7 of the directors. Everybody's got access to it. So if the person that answers it doesn't know how to answer you, somebody will hop on and help you out.
And when we say that, like when we've got 7 directors, we've got obviously myself in Edmonton, Mike's down in Lacombe. You got Taryn and same thing.
Red Deer, Lacombe.
They're all close to each other.
Both sides of it, eh?
Yeah. And you got Taryn down in Calgary, plus you've got Denise and Flynn in Saskatchewan, and Denise also helps look after the Manitoba part of it too. So we're basically covering a good chance, and then you've got Carl Ball up northern Lesser Slave Lake area. So we've got a pretty big reach if you need to contact one.
And then Dean on the west side of Edmonton there out.
Oh yeah, Dean. Yeah.
For now, I don't know if are they staying out Spruce area or
I don't think.
But yeah, so we've got directors in Alberta and Saskatchewan that cover, basically north to south and all over in between. So if you have a question, reach out. Somebody will get back to you.
Yeah, go rent a kayak, go get a kayak, go join in the tournaments. It should be a fun weekend. We'll see what happens. I'll have a report next week, Tuesday. We will see you guys next Tuesday.
All right.